What's up, guys? Rob from Major Game here, bringing you a different kind of video. Today we're going to be doing some different lists and stuff. I got a hankering to do some tier lists and matchup charts and whatnot. So we're going to start with, of course, a Garfield matchup chart. So we're going to put the Lasagna Cat all the way up here. And yeah, we're just going to talk about the matchups, what makes them good, what makes them bad. Kind of give you guys an idea of his matchup spread. So we have the -2, -1 even, plus 0.5. So this would be like 50-50, 40-60, 30-70. You know, this is like 55-45, 60-40, 70-30. And then I might actually have to make an extra tier for one specific character. Because one of these matchups is pretty rough, actually. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. No, this all right. So we're gonna get this one out of the way first. This is Reptar. Reptar gets absolutely destroyed by Garfield. Garf can combo Reptar for days, which, you know, a lot of characters in this game can combo Reptar for days, but particularly with the up tilts and up air chains, and then specifically the pies really just body Reptar. Like if Reptar gets hit by a cream pie and he gets sent off stage, he's probably dead. You know, if you do cream pie into the second pie, you can pretty much S-dare him every single time. It's hard for Reptar to get in. There's not a whole lot he can really even do once he gets in, for the most part, because Garf can just nair out of a lot of his stuff. So yeah, easily the best matchup for Garf is Reptar. So I just want to get that one out of the way, because everyone knows at this point, if you're playing Reptar against Garfield, just don't. So we'll start with his bad matchups. Danny Phantom is here. I'm not really a big fan of the Danny Phantom matchup for Garfield, because Danny can kind of just zip and zoom around a lot of what you want to do. And yes, Garf can nair or dare out of a lot of Danny's setups into his strong up air kills, and you can RPS S-dare with the up strong, the Lasagna, pretty easily, but Danny just moves too fast for Garfield. A lot of his movement options are just really hard for us to deal with, and because he's constantly throwing out hitboxes and stuff, you're not really going to get pie set up. You're not going to get, you know, too many Pookie plays off of him. And his recovery is not great, but because it's a teleport, it's a little bit harder for us to try to S-dare it. So you're kind of relying on them missing the sweet spot and getting off a down strong or something. So Danny overall kind of just bodies Garf, and it's not a fun matchup to play, I could tell you that much. But that's really his only like truly horrendous matchup, I think. This is just bad all around. But we're gonna go into other losing matchups here. These aren't gonna be ordered, by the way. But Sandy right now is just really strong. Just in general, she kind of puts the hurt down on Garf, just because her snare can RPS out of a lot of the things that we want to set up, like our up strong kills and aerial up strong kills. She also just has really safe pressure, and because she has a really good recovery, it's hard for Garf to edge guard Sandy, which edge guards are, you know, if you've ever watched the guide that I did on Garfield, you know that like edge guarding and ledge play are some of the strongest parts of Garfield's game, and Sandy just in general, very difficult to edge guard. So she's pretty much always going to be making it back, and on stage she's just kind of a menace, and she kind of be a little bit difficult to deal with. And plus, because she's another one of these characters just like constantly throwing out hitboxes, she can be tough to deal with. Next I have Aang. I could see an argument for this being even, because you can kind of edge guard Aang a little bit, but The issue is once Aang kind of gets in with the nairs and the jabs and the down tilts, it can be kind of difficult. And if Aang wants to stand on the other side of the stage and just nair away and kind of just wall you out, because they're always throwing out those hitboxes, the pies are going to be getting destroyed. And it can be a little bit difficult to get in on Aang sometimes. I could see this being even, but personally, I think Aang just has a lot of tools that allow him to get out of our stuff, whereas he can really kind of put a beat down on us and make our life more difficult than it needs to be. And plus, with the good recovery, it means that we can't edgeguard him quite as well. Another losing matchup for Garf is Toph, and the reason I think Toph is tough for us is because the strongs, because Toph just wants to throw out those strongs a lot. It makes our life a little bit more difficult than it should be, because she's going to be RPSing a lot of our stuff. She's going to be reflecting our pies and stuff, so it's going to make it more difficult for us to kind of get in sometimes, because she's going to be able to handle our ways to get in. You know, you can always just run in, bait the strong, and yellow shield and punish. And I do think that we have a strong advantage state on Toph, because Toph's disadvantage state's not great. But again, with the platforms that Toph is able to create, it makes it a little bit more difficult to edgeguard, because she can just, you can, you know, hit it with the light dash down strong, but then she just boop, pops out a platform, and then she be living. She be living for sure. So Toph is another one of these tough matchups, I think, for Garfield. And in the last losing matchup, I'm going to put in Mikey. Mikey's just really, really good in general right now. He's one of the best characters in the entire game. And so I think that just by virtue of him having just a lot of stuff that is difficult for us to deal with, like his nair and dare, if they want to wall you out with nair, it can be kind of difficult for you to deal with that. One of the nice things about Mikey is that we can edge guard his up B pretty easily. You just grab ledge and then throw a down strong in the area where he's going to be recovering, or an S dare, sorry, not a down strong. And you can edge guard him decently well with that. If he's forced to up B, he's probably going to be in a bad situation. But his advantage state on Garfield is just pretty brutal, because he has a little bit of the disjoint with the nunchuck. So yeah, being in disadvantage against Mikey's rough. So I'm going to put that as another losing matchup here for Garf. But that's it, really, as far as losing matchups. I personally think the Cat Dog matchup is crap. I hate dealing with Cat Dog because of Snare, specifically. Because you basically can't kill this character off the top. Which is not true. You just have to hit true combos. But because a lot of our stuff that we get kills off the top with isn't true most of the time, they can literally just spam the strong button and snare out an RPS. But I'm going to put it here as even, because we do obliterate Cat Dog's recovery with Magic Stick. I mean, down strong just completely invalidates Cat Dog's recovery in general. But it's not a winning matchup for us either, because Cat Dog can combo a lot of... Cat Dog can combo Garfield a lot, I should say. And because the way Garfield's recovery works, it's a little bit predictable. And if the Cat Dog player is good enough and they can throw a snare kind of in your recovery area, if they can catch you up on the way up or trade with you on the way down, or even just light dare you, you know, if they get you into a worse position, they can light dare you. Plus, because they're kind of lower to the ground, it makes hitting pies a little bit more obnoxious. You really have to be accurate with your pies to hit them. So I'm going to put this as even, because while it's kind of annoying for us to deal with a lot of the stuff that they have, it's also annoying for Cat Dog. And if you get Cat Dog off stage, most of the time you should be getting kills with that. So I'm going to put Cat Dog as even. SpongeBob, I'm also going to put even. I'm going to put Lincoln Loud as even too, because these two characters are fairly similar in the way that they play. So I'm just going to talk about them kind of at the same time here. They're both very heavy combo-based characters. So you're gonna be eating combos. You just have to accept that. Um, we're not like a super heavy character, but we are heavy enough that we're gonna be eating a lot of combos off of these two. So you're just gonna have to accept that. A lot of the times you're gonna be eating damage. But Lincoln's recovery specifically sucks. It's horrible. And so if you get Lincoln off stage, underneath the stage, you should probably be getting a kill every single time with either down strong or S dare. And they're especially susceptible to Pookie spikes and stuff like that because his recovery is just so bad. SpongeBob's recovery is a little bit better, and it can actually be deceptively difficult to hit the S dare on Sponge's recovery because he has that hitbox. And because he has a pretty fast initial burst upward. So it can be a little difficult to hit the S dare on SpongeBob sometimes, but we can also combo Sponge, and because SpongeBob's recovery doesn't cover a ton of distance horizontally, if you're hitting them with something like a neutral strong or a cream pie or something, and you're carrying them far off stage, you can kill Sponge. So I think Sponge is even. I think Lincoln is even. Lincoln might actually even be a favorable matchup, might even be winning if he didn't have the ability to just wall us out with disjoints. And SpongeBob would be even SpongeBob might be a winning matchup if his combo game was a little bit worse. But because his combo game is so strong, it's going to be even. And because Lincoln can kind of wall us out a little bit with the disjoints, we're going to go with even for him as well. Next up, we have Zim. Zim used to be garbage for Garf, and personally, I suck against Zim, against playing against him. But I think in general, though, it's a pretty even matchup at this point because we can get in, and because Zim just basically the biggest reason why this matchup is even is because Zim explodes at like 50%, even off of Garfield, who doesn't have the strongest raw kill power in the game. We can kind of just explode Zim. So that's why I'm going to put Zim as even, because he can body us pretty hard with a lot of the stuff, especially if they can place their Gnome in a good spot. With the way our recovery works, it can be really, really difficult. But because we can explode him at like 50%, he's going here. Next up is even is Nigel. Nigel is really good, but the big thing about Nigel is that Nigel can't really edge guard, and that means that one of our big weaknesses with our recovery is not really being exploited that much. So that kind of lets us be even with him. He can still up air string Garfield for days, literally for like days and weeks on end. But because we can also hit him with a lot of stuff because he's a little bit of a bigger character, and his snare doesn't RPS as easily as others, so we can actually kill him off the top. That's why I'm going to put him here as a even matchup, because he's very good, but he can't really exploit one of our biggest weaknesses, which is our kind of questionable recovery. So that's why it's going even. Next, I'm going to put Shredder as even. I hate Shredder. Don't get me wrong. I hate Shredder with like all my all my heart. But we can trade with his Nair, with our Nair. So, yeah. I mean, a lot of the other stuff is difficult to deal with. Don't get me wrong. We don't have great tools to deal with his super speed boost side B that he wants to fly all over the stage with. But because it doesn't cross up anymore, it's not really the end of the world. And he's super light. His recovery is super exploitable vertically anyway. Obviously, the super speed boost recovery off the side is not exploitable. But so we can exploit his weaknesses. And by the same token, Nair still exists. And up air does kill pretty early. So that's why I'm going to put this as even. In the slightly favorable matchup category, I'm putting Powdered Toast Man. We can combo PTM pretty easily, and the big thing here is his recovery is completely atrocious, and so that plays right into our hands, right? We can down strong his recovery, we can down tilt his recovery, we can S-dare his recovery. He can still kill us really early because Powder Toast Man just hits like a friggin' freight train, which is why he's going here and not in like +1 completely, because he still obliterates us. You know, if they're hitting like their shine snares, it can be pretty difficult, and especially because his down strong does eat our recovery. If you don't snap ledge, or if you're opting for like a high recovery, you're gonna have a bad time against Powder Toast Man. But I think it's slightly us favored, because pies do really give Powder Toast Man a bit of an issue, and because his recovery is just so bad and we're really good at edge guarding, that's why it's going here. Similarly, good April O'Neil and Lucy kind of have the same-ish thing going on here, where when Lucy's in normal mode, she doesn't have a hitbox on her up B. Same with April. April does not have a hitbox on her up B. And April can still scam. Like, she can still hit like the wave slime into S there, which just, there's nothing we can do because our recovery is not, you know, big enough for us to get back after that for the most part, unless you have all your resources. But if she catches like a jump or whatever, you're gonna have a bad time. But that being said, it's easier to combo April O'Neil than some other characters, and the hitbox not having, or up B not having a hitbox is huge. And with Lucy, Lucy can be kind of a pain to deal with, but she also has a similar thing going on where the recovery is exploitable. And because in her other modes where she does have a hitbox on her recovery, she's very light, we can exploit this. We can exploit the recovery, which is really the big thing. This is kind of like these characters are good, but their recovery sucks horrendously tier, and so we can kind of exploit that. And not sucks horrendously in a sense that, like, oh, April's recovery is really, really long, and she can recover from, like, the depths of hell, and, like, same with, you know, Lucy. But because we can not easily, but more easily edgeguard these characters than some others, I'm putting them in this tier. So slightly favorable, not truly like anything crazy winning. In the +1 category, I'm going to start with Patrice. Patrick can be kind of a pain in the neck to deal with because snare is really good, which means that we can't really kill off the top as much as we might want to as Garfield. But his recovery is exploitable if you're able to time it, you know, if you're able to get it so that you're not hitting the grab hurt box on his up B. And he's a bigger character, so we can combo him. You can combo him more easily than other characters, and he's more susceptible to kind of our shenanigans, like the light dash to down strong kind of nonsense that we want to pull on him. So this is not an easy matchup because he can blow up your recovery with snare by just placing it in very good spots. But yeah, I'm going to say +1 on Patrick over here. Leo. Leo's just big, and Leo can be kind of a pain in the neck to get into sometimes. Like if they're walling you really hard with their disjoints, Leo can actually be kind of annoying. I might be tempted to put him in +0.5, but I'm going to stick with +1 because his recovery is exploitable. We can kind of bonk him on the top of the head with S dare if we just hang ledge. And he doesn't have great tools to get out of disadvantage, which is really, really good for us. It's really, really important. His dare is pretty good at getting out of disadvantage, but for the most part, a lot of his other tools aren't superb at that. So we're going to put him in +1 here. Another +1 is Oblina. Similar thing to Leo in that recovery, you can bonk him on top of the head. They do have the hitbox, but you can usually trade or just straight up kill them with it. The only thing that Oblina can do to make this a better matchup for herself is if they want to goop camp. If they want to just set up goop and camp really, really hard, it can be a bit annoying for Garfield to get in. But it's not so much that we can really combo Oblina that hard. It's more that we can just eat her recovery, essentially. So, and of course, Oblina's really light, so we do blow her up kind of early sometimes. So that's why I'm going with +1 on Oblina here. Another +1, I'm going to go with Cora. Similar situation. Cora's recovery is exploitable to an extent because while it is really strong on the way up, they do have to charge it up. So if you can go low enough to just S-Dare them while they're charging it without the hitbox coming out, you can usually get a kill. And also, they do have decent recovery horizontally with their down special in the air, but, and big important but with that is that sends them downward a little bit more. So if you're hitting them with like a dash attack down strong, they're not really going to be able to use that option because they might just down special into the blast zone themselves. So that's why I'm going with +1. Cora can be a real big pain in the neck if she gets in on you, but you can also combo her pretty easily. So I'm going with +1 for Cora here. Oh, I forgot a 50-50. Whoops. Helga's even. Helga can play the projectile game just as good as we can, maybe even better in certain instances. But again, similar to Cora, her recovery is exploitable because she has to charge it up. And the reason that she's even but Cora's +1 is because she can space us a little bit harder with the projectile. Cora does not really having a projectile. She can space and approach a little bit easier than Cora can. And it just feels like it's a little bit more difficult to kill confirm with Helga than it is for Cora. Maybe that's placebo effect, but I think just with the ability for her to kind of wall out and space out with the slingshot, that's going to put her at even. Next, with the +1s, I'm going to put Mr. Hugh, Neutron. If Nair didn't exist, this would be probably +2, but Hugh's Nair can be a little bit annoying to deal with. His recovery is really good, which means we can't exploit it a ton, but because it doesn't have a hitbox until it lands, you can just kind of S-Dare it sometimes. And this is a very annoying matchup, I will say. I don't really like playing against Hugh because he just floats out of like all your combos. Like, just being how floaty he is, if they get that jump off, it could just be really annoying. And sometimes even just being floaty, he'll just fly away in the middle of a combo. Yeah, so, you know, that being said, though, he is susceptible to the edge guarding that we have available to us. Even though his recovery is really good, he's kind of light. He's kind of taller, so we're able to do a lot of things. And his snare's not really good for RPSing out of a disadvantage situation. So if you're underneath him, you can usually get the, you know, down tilt to aerial up strong, or, you know, light dare to aerial up strong and kill him off the top. So that's why Hugh's +1. Not the easiest thing in the world, because I'm going to tell you it's going to be an annoying matchup because it's going to feel like none of your combos are hitting. But it is +1, I think. And now for the +2s, we have Rimpy. This is entirely because their recovery sucks. If Ren and Stimpy had a better recovery, this would probably be a losing matchup. Just because Dare blows our recovery up. So if you're not snapping, Dare and Down Strong blows up our recovery. So if you're not snapping ledge if you're going low, or if you're not mixing up your spacing if you're going high, Rimpy will absolutely body you for that. But because Rimpy's big, they're heavy, we can combo them really easily. They're susceptible to Pi knocking them off stage, and their recovery is horrendous. So poor Rimpy. If they had a better recovery, this would probably be a much better matchup for them. But right now, it's kind of rough because if they're off stage, especially if they're forced to up B, you should be killing them pretty much every time. So, and finally, poor Rocco doesn't exist. We'll give Rocco his own tier. Doesn't exist. There we go. Jenny, I think, is +2 for us, specifically because we can combo the hell out of Jenny with up tilt. We can up tilt Jenny to like 60 to 70 to 80% sometimes, depending on DI. And you can also up air string Jenny like crazy. Specifically, the up airs are a real problem for Jenny because Jenny can mash Nair in disadvantage because it's so damn fast, and because it lasts for so long. It's a great get at a disadvantage tool for Jenny, but our up air is a disjoint. So as a result of that, we can we can up air her, and there's not a lot she can really do, as opposed to, you know, when Jenny's in advantage, it is kind of rough for Garf because her up air is also really hard to get out of, her up air strings. But if we're in advantage, our advantage state on Jenny is pretty brutal most of the time. And yes, Jenny's recovery is really, really good in terms of like the maneuverability of it and how fast it is, but it doesn't have a hitbox. So if you hang ledge and threaten ledge, you can cover them going high by spacing a strong up air. You can cover them going low by spacing a strong dare. This is a good matchup for us. It's mostly just based on the fact that our combos early percent are really good. It's not like we can really kill her super early. Not like, you know, we can kill Reptar super early. We can kill Rimpy super early. This is going to take work, but because our advantage state is so good against Jenny, I'm going to put it in +2. Maybe I could see an argument for only being +1 because her advantage state on us is pretty good, but I'm going to go with +2 on that. So yeah, that's my Reptar. That's my Garfield matchup chart. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I will be doing a Reptar matchup chart, and I will be doing a tier list kind of in this little mini short series of 3 videos because I haven't done a whole lot of content like this. I'm sure there's stuff that people are going to disagree with. I'm sure there's stuff that people are going to be like, you're an idiot, Rob. Reptar's a -2 matchup. But let me know what you guys think. Hope you guys enjoyed. And stay tuned for the Reptar matchup chart and for my tier list.